Illegal immigrants could vote as long as they have their driver's license.
Republicans love to claim that there's this mythical thing such as voter fraud when they're fear-mongering against immigrants, or when they're trying to push for voter ID laws that will discourage poor and minority communities from voting.
We believe that only American citizens should vote in American elections, which is why the time has come for voter ID.
Yeah, but as always, this is just projection, and they're literally the only ones who are actively engaging in systemic, targeted, deliberate election fraud. Shocker.
Something strange is happening in North Carolina. Last week, the State Board of Elections and Ethics Reform voted unanimously to hold off on certifying the results of the congressional race in the 9th District, and amid reports that absentee ballots may have been tampered with.
Oh, something strange indeed. How delightful. Turns out a big chunk of the absentee ballots in one Democratic-leaning county, Bladen County, with many older Black and Native American voters, weren't filed, even though those absentee ballots were requested. And the discrepancy was clear across racial lines as well, with 40% of the absentee ballots requested by African Americans going unfiled and 60% of Native Americans' ballots not being filed. For white voters, however, this figure was only at 17%. It's also important to note that this race was won by 900 votes, and there are currently 1,300 ballots that we know of that have been mysteriously disappeared.
Republican operatives, to help the Republican candidate, went out and sent a lot of requests in for absentee ballots from African Americans. They knew their addresses, they knew their names, and then they went around knowing when those absentee ballots were going to show up and collected them and filled them in for either their candidate or destroyed them.
Imagine my shock when the party of gerrymandering, the party of racist and unconstitutional ID laws, the party that routinely purges people from voter rolls and makes it as difficult as possible for citizens to vote, is also literally going up to old voters' homes, lying to them, and stealing their ballots. Whew. By the way, this is of course happening in North Carolina, where the Republican Lieutenant Governor Dan Forest literally put out an educational video on how to commit voter fraud.
Committing voter fraud is easy in our state. Just for fun, here's one way an organized group could commit voter fraud in North Carolina.
Hi, I'm Lieutenant Governor Fandoris. North Carolina does not currently have enough laws in the books preventing murder, so today I'm going to teach you how to use a gun to quietly but effectively murder people, just for fun. But here's why all this is funny. Voter fraud isn't statistically significant based on countless studies by partisan think tanks on all sides. But even beyond the statistical anomaly, according to the Washington Post, there were only 4 documented instances of voter fraud in the 2016 presidential election, okay? A man in Texas who got caught and claimed he was just testing the security for the Trump campaign, a Republican woman who cast a ballot on behalf of her dead husband, a Florida woman who marked absentee ballots for the mayor, and a woman in Iowa who tried to vote for Trump twice. Now, this is of course funny because she then claimed she was doing this to balance out the rigged system against illegal votes, working off of Trump's orders, basically.
Maybe they'll vote for Trump. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't be saying this. I may be hurting myself. You're right. You're right. Maybe they're going to vote for Trump. All right, let's forget that. It's okay for them to do it.
Apparently, Terry Lynn Rott took Trump's words to heart, and she got caught trying to vote illegally. And she absolutely knew she wasn't allowed to vote again, but she did it anyway. And she was charged with 2 years probation and a $750 fine. Now, if you think that's crazy, compare that to the case of Rosa Maria Ortega, a 39-year-old mother of 4 who will be serving an 8-year prison sentence.
Her name is Rosa Ortega. She says she didn't know the difference between citizen and resident when she illegally voted 5 times over the last decade. A judge in Texas sentencing her to 8 years behind bars.
Ortega came to the U.S. as a baby and was a legal permanent resident her entire life. She voted Republican for over a decade. She did not know that she wasn't a full-blown citizen. And now she'll be serving 8 years in prison for not knowing. Now this is crazy because if you ask Republicans, voter fraud is this incredibly prevalent issue in a country where only 60% of the eligible voters actually turn out to vote. So, they have to make sure minorities and poor people can't vote by closing polling stations in their neighborhoods just to be safe. But also, they couldn't really find any hardened criminal illegal voters, so they chose to make an example of this 39-year-old lady with a 6th grade education who can own property, she can serve in the military, but didn't know she couldn't vote. A slap on the face compared to the slap on the wrist Terry Lynn got for knowingly and deliberately breaking the law. This is the reality of the US criminal justice system, where the laws are only as fair as your skin. Now let's think about how many years those dipshits in North Carolina working for the Republican campaign will get for literally lying to the elderly and changing their votes or tossing them in the trash. Republicans talk a whole lot about voter fraud, but they're suspiciously silent about this one. I wonder why. I'm Hasan Piker. If you're outraged that this news is not national headlines all over the country, please share it with your friends and leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Also, for a longer conversation to tell me I'm a cuck or to agree with me, go to my Twitch at twitch.tv/Hasanabi. I'm live every day after 5 p.m. Pacific. And if you would like to help TYT, please go to tyt.com/Hasan and join TYT membership. It's only $5 a month. And this has been The Breakdown.